be talking about patience and essentially what it is, where it comes from, and how to use it. Because it's like we understand what patience is, but we don't really practice it because it doesn't feel good. So we're going to be working on patience. So we're going to stay in silence for 20 minutes and work that patience, and then let's see how it goes. No, that's not true. You're not looking at me like, what are you crazy? Julie's going to open. Yay! Thank you, ladies, for being here. Thank you, ladies, for doing an effort. This work is not easy work. This work is something that we have worked on. This is something that we have worked on and practiced, and we know it. We know the process. And even though we know the process, we continue struggling with that. So that's why we are here, and that's why we are doing this topic today. But before we start, Julie is going to open us in prayer, and then she's going to talk to us about patience in the Bible, where that comes from. And that noise is just to get us pumped, so we can talk louder.
We can talk loud. We can talk loud.
Do it. All right.
Amen, Lord. Thank you, ladies, first of all, for coming out. Man, it's like cold, and it's like, thank God, He lifted the rain, though. Praise the Lord. We get all this fabulous praise and worship music, unexpected, but it's all good, right? Father God, in the name of Jesus, Lord, we just come thanking you and praising you. We bless you, Father God. We thank you for your Son, Jesus, Lord, who is the author and perfecter of our faith, Father God. I thank you for these women that have come out tonight that have braved the cold. Yes, it is cold for us Californians. I know it's not comparable to much back east, but I thank you for them because, Lord, they are here to hear a word from you and to learn how to be patient in the process. So we just lift up this meeting to you, Father God. We pray your Holy Spirit would be here, Lord. And Lord, I lift up anyone else that's on their way to give them traveling grace, Lord Jesus. And Lord, just take rule. Take over tonight, Father. Touch the hearts and lives and minds of these dear saints that have come out to hear your word, Father God. And I pray that this lesson will just draw each one a little bit closer to you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. Amen. All right. Welcome. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. Pull out your Bibles. We're going to learn about patience from the book of Nehemiah. And so in order to teach us patience, I am going to read the entire 10 chapters now. Just kidding. So, but this is good. For those of you guys that don't know, Nehemiah, I think that's one of my favorite books in the Bible. One of my favorite books in the Bible. I would say it's one of my favorite. Next to James, maybe. But I'll say favorite Old Testament book. And Nehemiah, I identify with him a lot. And you know what? You should find yourself in the Bible. There is someone in there that you should line up with. And I line up with Nehemiah because he is the ultimate project manager. You know, he saw a problem, he prayed about it, he knew how to go after it and fix it. And that's what I do. That is the gifting that God has given me. I don't know what you call that, but I would call myself a gap filler. Like if I see a need, God will just give me this vision on how to kind of go and fix it. And so that's kind of what I do. So that's really why I identify with Nehemiah. But our lesson is called Lessons from Nehemiah on Being Patient in the Process. So I'm going to quickly go through these. And see, the beautiful thing for those of you guys that are new, I bring the work. Lily brings the application. Okay, so she's going to teach you how to walk through this because it sounds very simple and very logical and very, because that's kind of how I am. But it's the actual walking through that is a challenge. So that's why we make a good team. So what I'm going to do, starting off in chapter 1, and there are 5 lessons. Lesson number 1, bathe your goals, your visions, your journey in prayer. So, and for those of you guys that don't know, Nehemiah was charged with going back to rebuild the wall in Jerusalem after everything had fallen apart and the wall, and he got word that the wall had fallen and there's kind of chaos going on, and so it grieved him. So he began to pray. And as you look at the story, throughout the entire story, he's constantly in prayer about what is happening, what's going on, because obviously it's not a straight shot. It's like, I get this vision, and I'm going to build a wall, and boom, it's done. There's going to be clearly obstacles along the way. So he constantly stayed in prayer. In chapter 1, verse 4, it says, "For some days I mourned and fasted and prayed before the God of heaven." So he prayed and repented. Nehemiah prayed throughout his journey to rebuild the wall in Jerusalem. He prayed God's words back to him. This is where I need my Bible. And this is such interesting. I heard somebody say years ago, you should pray God's word back to him. And I didn't even really understand that or why. It's like, because he already knows what his words are. Why would I do that? But when I read this years ago, it's like, oh, this is what they're talking about. So if you look at verse 8, he says, he's praying. So, it starts off about verse 5, O Lord God of heaven, the great and awesome God. So he continues, he's putting his petition before God. Then in verse 8 he says, remember the instruction you gave your servant Moses, saying. It's as if to say, like, God didn't remember what his instructions were. But see, he's praying God's word back to him. The promise that God had made to the Israelites back to him. He says, if you are unfaithful, I will scatter you among the nations. But if you return to me and obey my commands, then even if your exiled people are at the farthest horizon, I will gather them from there and bring them to the place I have chosen as a dwelling for my name. So see, he doesn't know what God wanted in order to be able to fulfill this goal. So he's praying, but back to God, the thing he has already promised him. That's verse 8 and 9. Then it goes on, it says, and his prayers were specific and expected. In verse 11, he says, give your servant success today by granting him favor in the presence of this man. So again, he went in with an expectation. A lot of times when you're putting together a vision or a goal, or you're going to build a business or lose weight or whatever the vision is, we're not real specific with God about what we want. And he went in and he was specific, and he was expecting that God would grant him success in that. So keep that in mind when you're doing your vision planning. Lesson number 2, make sure you have the right people supporting your journey. You can't share your dreams with everyone. And so verses 2:11, he says, I set out during the night with a few men. I had not told anyone what my God had put in my heart to do for Jerusalem. And then again in verse 2:16, he says, the officials did not know where I had gone or what I was doing, because I had said nothing to the Jews or the priests or the nobles or the officials or any other who would be doing the work. And there is a reason for that. You have to be careful who you tell your dreams to. And I know Lily's going to get more into that. Because there's dream crushers, like we're going to talk about in lesson number 3. There's always people out there that want to kill your dream, kill your vision, kill your goal, kill your, and so this is part of just understanding that is part of the process, that there's going to be people out there that are going to challenge you, or they're going to tell you you can't do it, or whatever.
And sometimes those people are you.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Girl, I don't bet mine.
Girl, see, this is how we are. We never plan on lessons together, but going to lesson number 3, watch out for the Sanballats or the dream killers when working toward your goal, especially the Sanballats of your own mind. Okay, remember there were 3 Sanballat, Tobiah, and I think it's Geshem or something like that in chapter 3. And it's so interesting, from the beginning, they were like a sore thumb in the ointment, a fly in the ointment, so to speak. Well, as soon as they heard what Nehemiah was going to do, they started grumbling. Oh, what's he going to do? Why is he coming to Jerusalem? Why is he going to? Because they were kind of in charge. They were running the chaos. And now here's somebody's going to come back and restore some order. And they're just like, oh, okay, well, let's find out what this dude is all about. So in chapter 4, verses 1 through 3, Sanballat ridicules the Jews, and in the presence of his associates and the army of Samaria, he said, what are those feeble Jews doing? Will they restore their wall? And then Tobiah, one of his other cohorts, says, what are they building? Even a fox climbed up on it, he would break. Even if a fox climbed up on it, he would break down their wall. So he's kind of ridiculing not just Nehemiah, but they're kind of spreading that word out there just to kind of keep the chaos going. And so the reason I say that, and I can, like I said, people will put stuff in you. That's why you have to go back to number 2. Be careful who you share your stuff with. Now, I'll just give you a very specific example of something that my husband and I started doing a couple years ago. And we started investing in out-of-state property. We didn't know, other than his uncle, who was very wealthy and can afford to do that, we didn't know anybody that had done that. And God was faithful enough to bring somebody into our lives that actually could teach us how to do this. And it didn't take a whole lot of money, and you can do it all online. And we own several properties now up in upstate New York. But when it was kind of getting out there that this is what we were doing, I had someone say to me, or actually to my husband, no, roll that back, said it directly to me, you know what, that's not going to work, that's a scam, and you should get out of it right now. And I'm like, oh, I thought thought this person was a friend. Not that I think that all of my ideas are perfect and that you should never challenge me, but it was just that the negativity. And see, we can let that kind of negativity get on us, And then, so now, what if I would start thinking, well, maybe she's right. Maybe I should do this. She's pretty smart. She's got a lot of money. Maybe, But I didn't. I focused. Because what I had done from the beginning is I did my due diligence and my research. If you look at Nehemiah, he does his due diligence and his research. After praying and months and then studying and figuring out what he needed and how he needed to go back and build it, then he told, like I said, it told very few people, or told no one from the beginning what he was doing. See, sometimes you got to keep your dreams to yourself, because God might give you something that sounds so far out of the box, and the minute somebody questions it, you're going to be like, maybe they're right. What am I trying to do? I know I can't do this anyway. You see how easy it is for people and ourselves to talk us out of doing the vision and the dreams. So that's why you got to be patient, because come to expect that you're going to have opposition when you are doing something. I don't care if it's like losing 20 pounds. You're going to have that friend talking about, girl, let's go get some, I don't know, chicken and waffles.
Let's start for 3 months and let's see what we get with that.
Right? It's like, you just have to, sometimes you just have to keep it to yourself. And then lesson 4 is sometimes you got to ignore the sand balance, but sometimes you got to back the sand balance up with the truth. And so if you look in chapter 6, verses 2 through 5, even though the wall was nearly complete, Sanballat now is still trying to throw him off his game, throw him away from, steer him away from his goal. So he sends word. He's basically trying to set Nehemiah up, talking about let's meet. He sends it 4 times. Come on, Nehemiah, let's meet. Let's get together. Let's talk about this whole wall thing or whatever. What are you doing over here? He wants to go to Starbucks, the local Starbucks, and meet him for coffee or whatever. So 4 times, Sanballat sends a message, and 4 times Nehemiah sends back the same thing. He says, I'm carrying on a great project and cannot go down. Why should the work stop while I leave it and go down to you? See, he was trying to distract him. And see, we get distracted sometimes. We get distracted every day. There's a little thing called TikTok. I don't know if y'all know about that. Huge distraction, from what you're supposed to be doing. So
you get distracted by just listening to someone.
Right?
Oh, wait a second.
Where am I? So then on the 5th request, so now I can see the little edge in Nehemiah. Now he's like, the 5th request produced a little more aggressive response. And in verse 8, he says to him, nothing you are saying is happening. You're just making it up out of your head. And see, that's what most people do. You might have a vision or a project or trying to work on something or whatever, or even, it don't matter the situation. Even if it's your marriage, you're going to have that friend that says, girl, they ain't going to work. You know what? You might as well just leave him. Said your single friend that ain't got nobody. But I'm just saying, you got to back people up sometimes. Like, this is what God said. This is what the Lord said. What thus saith the Lord. And whatever, this is what I believe He has given me. And I don't care what you're saying. That's kind of what I hear. That's the feeling I hear Nehemiah saying. Nothing you are saying is happening, and you're just making it up out of your head. So be gone is basically what he said. I just added that on. And then lesson 5, the last lesson, is put a system in place to keep the vision moving forward. So once you kind of get to where you want to be, or whatever the vision is, or there's always something that God wants you to do next. So don't kind of rest on your laurels and oh great, we can, he didn't just build a wall and got up all the doors, and then it's like, okay, bye, peace out, I'm going back to the king, whoever he was, serving under. He put a system in place, and if you read verses 7, on, it talks about after the wall had been rebuilt, and I set the doors in place, the gatekeepers and the singers and the Levites were appointed. And then he goes on to say he appointed this person over this because he was the man of integrity, and this person over this. So you've got to have something to keep you moving forward, just like the whole weight loss thing. If you lose the 20 pounds, don't go back to eating the way you ate before. It's like you got to keep it going, keep the momentum going. And so, and like I said, just be patient in the process. Understand that you're going to have objection. Understand that you're going to have those Sanballats, those dream killers coming in your head. Continue to bathe it in prayer. Well, God, make sure you got the right people supporting you. You know what? If you can't tell nobody else, you can tell me and Lily. Because we are going to support you no matter what. You know, we will challenge you, yes, but we're going to support you. And then, like I said, ignore the sound ballots that are out there in here. Back those sound ballots up with the truth, and then put your system in place to keep moving forward. And on that note, see, I went through all 10 chapters, 7 chapters. Drum roll. Thank you guys very much. I hope you guys are proud of this. Now, if you have all this, we're going to tell you, Lily's going to teach you how to do it. That's the hard part. This was the easy part. That's the hard part. Thank you, darling.
Oh, now I get it.
High five. All right, so Julie shared with us a story in the Bible that I think is powerful, but most of the stories in the Bible talk about something that we run our lives with, which is faith. Most of the stories in the Bible come with faith. One of my favorites, Julie said it perfectly, pick the story that represents you, that holds you back and then moves you forward. My story is Joshua, but I love Job. And Job and Joshua and Esther have a story of, they have some sort of faithfulness. Even Esther doesn't talk about God, but it has a story of faithfulness, but it has this, in all of them, it's kind of like a patient right underlying in there. And it's, in all of them, there's the main character has someone talking in their ear. It's fascinating because even in Job, if there was someone, his wife, talking to this guy in his ear, it's like, okay, but this is the thing, going back to that point. When we have people talking to us in a negative way or someone talking us out of something, most of the time it's because they want to protect us. And that's what we do too. We do that to our kids. It's like, oh, why do you want to be an entrepreneur? Why don't you be a doctor like your grandfather? Or stuff like that. We do that to our kids. So for instance, not everybody does it with a bad intention, but it's important that we recognize that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
All right, so let's talk about patience. Patience is so close to me because I had none. Because I had none of it. I struggle a lot. My process and my recovery, it's all based on patience. And but I realized early when Julie was mentoring me that I had none. It was just like, wow, I have to be patient with something that I don't believe. Crickets. Exactly like that. It's like, okay, so, and then translation is just, you just have to learn to be patient, faithful. Be faithful in the process. So patience, being patient with the process means to give yourself a moment to understand the process. Why are we not patient with all this?
Let's just go. Let's just
finish. Yes, as my phone is like, I'm give up too. Let's go.
Maybe the drums make it move.
Yeah, probably. It's okay. So, why are we not patient with the process? Because most of the time we don't understand the process. What it is, it's like we're getting ready, and let's make it very simple. We have an event going on, and we are ready to go to the event. We are mentally preparing ourselves to go to an event. But then when we get to the event, there's people coming, and if you're the person that is early, you're gonna be sitting there waiting. And if you're the person that don't talk to a lot of people, most of the time you're just gonna be sitting there. And then you see other people, and then time start running, and then people start getting late, and they don't start in time. And the person that was there at the beginning, she's just like, these people are not serious, like they're late, and then they start running out of patience. But why does this happen? Because they were not aware of what can happen, of the full process. We don't understand the process. We don't give ourselves a moment to understand of what we are going to do. So that's why we have a false expectation. The lack of patience kick in when our expectations are higher than where they should be. So I want to be very clear with that. The bottom line of patience is the expectations that we set. So that's why, and Julie said it perfectly, we have to create a process, but we're going to go through that. Let's think about a tree. Okay, let's think about a tree. What tree do we like? I like oranges. I like guavas because they smell very, very nice. They have flowers and all that stuff. There's pine trees, and pine trees have a lot of cool stuff with properties and a lot of different stuff. But let's talk about a tree. Do you guys plant a tree and then the next day expect to have fruit?
Of course.
It doesn't make any sense. Yes, it's like what TikTok said. And my 10 seconds video says that it can because it's fast forward. And we have that expectation, and that's what social media. I love social media, but let's keep it clean. Social media fast forward everything. The attention span is so crazy. Yeah. Like the fact it's like get got to the chase. It's like they're going to be like they're doing all this, and it's like, come on, man, just show me the end result. And they fast forward the videos, and you're like, just show me, just show me, just show me. And that's what kids do. Yeah. And we are trained. We have been trained. Modified and to think that everything has to be that fast. Mm-hmm. Like if you go to a Vons or a supermarket or whatever, you're standing in the line, it's like, come on, come on, come on. It's like, you just got there. It's like, you just, with the market, and then it's like, come on, people, come on. It's like, and the lady like, do you want to go? But because we're in such a rush, there's no patience, but we don't think that far. It's like, okay, I'm gonna go to the supermarket, and then I'm gonna go pick up this, and then I'm gonna go do that, and then it's like in your mind you create a map, a list of all the things that you're planning on doing. But then you get to the supermarket, and it's filled with 1,500 people, and it's like, okay, now I have to wait. But I don't want to wait because I have another 10,000 things that I need to get done. Because we don't have a clear process, a clear understanding of the process, then we create false expectations. Then we're in line waiting, or we're in traffic cussing at everybody and their mamas because they're not moving fast enough. Because I already programmed and I already have a plan. Why not everybody's following my plan? If I already have a plan, why doesn't everybody else in this world, the rest of the 8 billion people, understand that I already have a plan? That's when patients run low. So there's a vicious cycle. This is how the vicious cycle starts. We start with the process. So one day, if you already found the purpose, or if you're in a look for a purpose, or you're self-discovering yourself, and you have you create a vision, right? So Lily, what I really want to do, I'm gonna put myself in that. I'm gonna explain my process because I've been struggling with this too. Even though I'm doing the work, I struggle with patients consistently. So one day I discovered that I wanted to be a coach. One day I discovered, you know what, I want to help people because someone helped me. I want to do that for someone else. So I told myself that I want to coach people. And I started with the process. But because that was my purpose, and I discovered my purpose, I was pumped. So yes, let's do it. Let's make videos. Let's do this, and let's create content, and let's call everybody, and let's do a list of a ton of people, and then let's call them. And I went full force. 2 weeks later, I ran out of gas. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm so exhausted, and where's the fruit? Like, show me the money. Why I'm not seeing fruits? What is happening, right? Because I run out of patience, because I put too much gas into my machine that I start running out. Yes, it's wonderful, it's beautiful when you discover your passion and when you discover your gifts and the things that you want to do. And then you give your all into it, but you are not mentally prepared to say, okay, this is gonna take me a year, 2 years. We are not capable to see that far because we are pumped. We are like when creativity, the juices of the creativity start flowing, you get all these things that I wanna do this and I wanna do that, and you're pumped and you're moving and you're shaking and you're doing all this stuff. But then you go so hard into it that at some point you get tired of it. And then you're like, oh my God, I'm not seeing anything. I'm not seeing any fruits. I don't know what's happening. Everything is so slow. And then you start self-talking yourself negatively out of that thing that you told yourself that you love and your purpose and your gifts. So you start rethinking your decisions. And when you start rethinking your decisions, then you say, I don't see any fruits. I don't know if I'm wasting my time with this. And then you start, maybe I should do something else. Maybe I should find a job. Maybe I should talk to the pastor. And then you start like, maybe I should do this. And then you start going into a wee moment in which your brain is I'm putting all this time, and then sleep is like I'm not sleeping at night, and I'm putting all this work, and I don't know what to do. I think I already run out of tools. You create a state of stress for yourself because once again, because you're not fully aware of the process. Like getting married. This is so typical because like they get the ring, and then they get okay, let's prepare the wedding, and then 3 days before the wedding, everything is like, oh my god, what is happening? And then creates conflict. When you're in stress, it creates conflict. This is a very deep problem because you can say, well, yeah, that's my problem. I'm struggling with that. That's my problem. But if you're stressed, everything in your environment is like a ripple effect. Everything in your environment is going to be stressful. Your kids are going to be stressful. Your parents, your husband, your partner, whoever you're around with is going to be stressed out too. So it's not just you. That's why this process is so important, that you understand that whatever you do is not just you. It's everybody else around you. So learning and understanding that the process comes with a load is not just, okay, I'm going to do whatever I want and then I'm going to be rich. The end. No. I wish it was like that, but it doesn't really work like that. In between that, oh, I found my purpose, and oh, I am successful, there's a huge gap. So we're going to learn the process of how to take it one at a time. One thing, because we have to learn to break down the processes so we are fully aware of what the process comes with, the load of what it is. You know what I mean? So it's not just, I'm going to do this and then this is the fruit that I'm going to, it's so much in between planting the tree and collecting the fruit. All right? So then when we're in this negative space, because we already self-talking ourselves like, no, maybe I need to change, or maybe I should X, Y, and Z. So now we're in a deep state of people going to depression because they know what they want to do, but they're putting so much work into it and they don't see any fruits, and then they think, well, this is not enough. So if things are not enough, we are pros on taking it to an identity level. So if the work that I'm not doing is enough, then I am not enough. And then that goes deep into your identity to say, I am not enough. And it carries on. So with the people that you start talking to, that we project that. And people is like, okay, maybe I shouldn't talk to Lily because and it goes like that. And people feel that. People sense that sometimes. And because we are not honest with the process, we talk about that too. So that's when a lot of problems start coming up. But then after you have this negative thought and you said, okay, I'm going to ask for help, we always pick the wrong people. Always. And I'm not saying the wrong people like consciously, is we go to people that are close to us, but they're not doing the process that we're doing.
Right. Yeah.
So you go into a group and then you get all like, your mind blown, and it's like, oh my God, I'm pumped, let's do this. And then you start talking negative to you, and then you go and talk to your mom or your husband. They have no idea what you're doing. They have no idea how much it means to you, or your partner or your boyfriend or whoever you're talking to. And it's like, oh, well, this is what I'm doing. This is the key. When we go to someone and people, we have the tendency to believe, because we have a codependency seed on us, like codependency seed is growing into us. We have the tendency to believe that when someone comes with their problems, it's because they want us to solve their problems.
Yeah.
This is a big mistake. I don't need you guys to solve my problems. And most of you feel that way. It's like, I don't want you to solve my problems. Oh, but you didn't tell me that. So because we don't start with that, the other person thinks, I have to give you an advice. So in order for me to feel valuable, because I'm going to help you. The problem with that is, you might do that, you might follow the advice, but if it goes wrong, then you're gonna take it against the person that gave you the advice. That's for sure will happen. So that's why it's to protect both sides. you always make sure, and it goes both ways, because we do that to other people too. So recognize that when someone comes with their problems, stop before you give any advice. We are not programmed to give advice. We are not. We are programmed to add value to ourselves. We talk about this. Because we lack value, and because we have suffered, and because we've gone through a lot of traumatic experiences, we need to feel valuable. So because we need to feel valuable, we try to solve other people's problems because I want them to recognize me. That's why we give advice. So if that person follows that advice, then it doesn't work out, then you're gonna be like, it's my fault because you followed my advice. One scenario. The other person might think, oh, I followed your advice, I'm angry at you, I'm not gonna talk to you because you told me to do X, Y, and Z. So before we start going and pulling strings and giving advice, ask this simple question. You want to vent out, or you're looking for solving a problem? Then allow the person to give you that response. It goes both ways. The same way, when we want to vent out, and when we are feeling in this negative space and things are not flowing and things are not going with the way we want to go with someone, whoever you trust, and tell them, I don't want you to solve my problems. This is not a problem for you to solve and give me advice. I just want you to listen to me. That's how we become honest, and that's how we care about ourselves, by saying, I just want you to be there for me. At the end of the day, all we are looking for is for support, not for someone to tell me what to do. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to do it my way, and if I fail, I fail, but it's going to be my way. All I want you to do is, if I fail, just to be there for me, to hold me. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
So, but we don't do, none of that. That's the stuff that we don't do, and that's why everything goes wrong. So, that's the process, that's the vicious cycle. So, what happens when someone comes and tells us, oh yeah, that business that you're doing, I don't think is going to work out. I don't think that stuff is good. I think you should go to school, or I think you should do X, Y, and Z. So then you go home and you're like, that's right. I knew it. I knew I was wrong. I knew it was my fault. I knew I did everything wrong. I knew this, I knew that. So what do? You quit. You will quit. If you don't have the right support, you will quit. Whatever you're doing, if you're trying to lose even 5 pounds, you will quit. Even if it's to start a new business, if it's correct your relationship with someone, amend your relationship with someone, or have a better relationship with your husband, or have more friends, whatever it looks like, you will give up. Not for the lack of support, but for your lack of honesty. And that's part of the process. When you understand, you know what? Yes, I didn't, when you're honest with yourself and you tell yourself, you know what? Yeah, I didn't really look it up. Or yeah, I did put a lot of hours into this. When you really tell yourself what's the deal, what's the real deal, then you will be able to uncover what the problem is. But we won't get there yet. Does that make sense so far?
Yes.
So this is a deep issue, because patience is not just, okay, I'm gonna wait. This is not being patient. When you're in your mind, it's like, and then when you're causing inside of like, when you're doing this, that's not being patient. That's being in denial. That's just like lying to yourself. And if you want to lie to yourself, just keep it that, like, yeah, I'm gonna just lie to myself because that's what works for me. So that's cool. But keep it real, at least with yourself. All right. So let's go. Questions so far? So that's a vicious cycle. Now we're gonna do with the real deal. We're gonna go to. This is the best part. Because then I did this, I practiced this, and it helped me. For those that, you guys know, hormones go like this during the month. We cannot stop none of that stuff. And you can have all the best intentions and you can have all the best energy, but if your hormones are down or acting up, you're like, no, screw this. This is not for me today. Maybe next week. And it happens to me, even though I'm always listening and reading books and doing the work and all that stuff. Sometimes it's like, not for me. Maybe tomorrow, maybe next day. So, but that's part of the patience.
Right.
Understanding, being patient, understanding the process. Understanding that in a month, you're gonna go like this.
Right.
And then you said, I understand what is going to happen. I'm just gonna roll with it. That's being patient with the process. Not just pouting is like, oh, I'm just gonna wait here until my period is gone. Because it doesn't do anything. All it's doing is just like I said, in denial. So being patient with the process is understanding what the process brings and everything that will come with it. And then just roll with it. That is being patient. Does that make sense so far?
Yeah.
All right, so all we can do is focus on yourself. There's no other way. It's not, oh, but my husband always, no. Oh, but my brother always, no. This is not about them, this is about you. Let's start again. So when you finally find your purpose, when you finally find something to dedicate your life, and when you finally find something that you want to work on, and that's where the work comes. First, think, what is the thing that I really want to achieve? Setting goals, finding your purpose. It's not just jumping, it's like, okay, my purpose or what I really want to do is lose 20 pounds. But you don't need to lose 20 pounds. I hear this often too. When people come, and this is unrealistic things. I'm gonna be very straightforward. If you're unrealistic, the process is never going to be realistic. Mm-hmm. So that's when patience is gonna start like, so there's people that come, it's like, they're 140 pounds, it's like, oh yeah, I have to lose 45 pounds. It's like, what are you talking about? And they're like, what? So I've heard that, I'm a coach, so I hear that, and he's like, no, let's back it up. And that's why we need someone that hit us with reality. Because an unrealistic process or an unrealistic goals is just gonna set us for failure. All right? So find the thing that you really want to do. Okay? Step number 1. Let's start again. Number 2, let's commit. What does that mean? For those people that we don't know what commitment is. If you tell yourself for health, I really need to lose 20 pounds. Okay. But maybe next month. And then 2 years later, okay, well, it was 20 pounds, now it's 40. So if you tell yourself you want to do something, if it's to start a business, or if it's losing weight, or it's having better relationships, or stop fighting with your family, whatever your goal is, you have to commit to it. And this is where faith comes. So I'm going to commit to it, because let's say you plant a tree, but then you don't commit to it to put water and all that stuff. It's like, okay, well, let's see what happens. I'm gonna run with faith. Let's come back in 5 years. Let's see if it grows. It doesn't really work like that. So you have to commit to whatever process you're going to start. Mm-hmm. And that's when patience starts. Like when you sit yourself in the ground, you tell yourself, I promised that I was going to commit. And commitment comes with persistency and consistency. And that comes with patience. I don't like it, then I won't commit to it. Mm-hmm. What's the point of telling yourself, then stop lying to yourself? I mean, very bluntly. So it's either you want it or not. And then you commit to it. Mm-hmm. Now, let's plan. Now, we already start all over again with the process. We already commit to the process 100% for it. Now we're going to plan. Planning is something, we all have to do it. I mean, whatever you want to do, you just don't jump. Right. Okay, I'm going to start a business. Where do you start? Let's create a plan of action. So that way you stay in the path, so you stay focused. And that way okay, if something goes wrong, I know how to exercise my patience, because it's like a rubber band where but you already know the path. So let's plan ahead. Let's make a plan of action every single day. What are you gonna do when things happen? And this also comes with, when things goes wrong, what am I gonna do? That's plan 2. Okay, so when I start feeling I don't see the results that I wanted to see, I don't see the things that I wanted, I'm not experiencing the things that I told myself that I was going to experience. I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, in those moments, what am I gonna do too? That's part of the plan too. So we have to plan for the good, but we have to for action and the steps that we need to do, but we also have to plan for what if things don't go the best way I want, like the things, when that moment when I start shaking and I start double thinking the things that I told myself that I was gonna do, what am I gonna do in those moments? That's part of the plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because we have to think in all those things too. Not now. We are not controlling. We're gonna be running on faith, but we just trying to stay ahead on our thoughts. I know that next month, around the 20 to 25th, I'm going to be tripping because whatever situation, right? I already know that because every month is the same thing. So what's next month, what's gonna make it different? No, I know the things that I'm gonna be thinking, and I know I'm gonna be sitting on a couch munching on chocolates and just not wanting to see anybody and get away from here, I'm taking a nap. So I know that will happen. So what am I gonna do in those moments when that happens? That's part of the plan, okay? Now, let's write it down. Everything we plan, and this is a key, this has to write it down 3 times. Write it down, write it down, write it down, because that's gonna allow you to stay accountable to yourself. And in those moments, that's plan B. So when things are not going the way we want it, you go back to your notes, and it's like, okay, I wrote myself that I was gonna do X, Y, and Z because I want to achieve X, Y, and Z, and I'm gonna do X, Y, and Z, and when things don't go good, X, Y, and Z. And now when you write it down, it's a way to journals, and that's, I think you guys encourage your kids, younger kids, to write down. That's a way, it's an excellent way to process a lot of your thoughts. So write it down, so that way it's like a contract. Hey, you write it down right here and you sign it. You gotta stay committed if you're committed to it. Let's give it some time. I want it now. I want to see results now. But we know the things don't happen like that. Things are not like that. When we are planning and when we want to achieve something, give yourself, whatever the plan is, give yourself at least 1 year, and the minimum. Why am I saying 1 year? Because I don't want you to go crazy for 2 weeks and then exhaust all your energy and then hate it. And you hate it so much that you do it so and then you hate it, and then you don't want to do it again. And you don't want to continue the process because you're tired of it. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I want you guys, when you're making the process, when you're writing it down, I want you guys to give yourself some time to say, I'm going to give myself 1 year to achieve this. And you give yourself permission to go for that year. But it doesn't mean that you have to go hard on it. That means that you can take breaks, you can eat, you can breathe, you can go out, you can do other stuff besides going 100% on that. That I understand a lot of people say, well, you have to work hard 100% every single day. No, it doesn't work like that. Because we have other things. We have kids, we have a job, we have feelings, we have emotions, we have a period, or you have a hormonal cycle. Men can do that. Good for them. We don't. Let's keep it real. We don't. We can't. So let's be honest with ourselves from the very beginning. You know, I have a process, and I have to respect my process. I respect myself so much that I respect my process. So I'm going to give myself some time for that process, because I don't want to be running and hating what I thought myself that I was going to love. You know, you take time to find your gifts, you take time to find your purpose, and then you go 100% in it, and then you hate it because you didn't receive anything in exchange. So it's part of it. Let's give yourself some time. Be realistic. Questions so far? Okay, I'm going to start asking questions, so if you have questions, it's your time. All right. Let's keep it real. Let's keep it very, very real. If you tell yourself, I want to be a millionaire, but right now a millionaire is kind of like, right? With the valuation is like, okay, let's be a billionaire. It's like, yeah, let's do it. Okay, billionaire sounds better. Because it's like millions. It's overrated. Come on, Lily. Let's go for billions. If you want to be a billionaire, be realistic that it won't happen overnight. And be realistic that it's like if you win the lottery, it comes with a lot of baggage. It's not just having the money. It just doesn't, and then I'm happy and everything is great. No, it doesn't work like that. Because there's people around you, it's like, oh, you got money. Okay, let me go talk to you and sit down for a coffee and you pay. So let's be realistic. Everything comes with a lot of responsibilities. Everything, even having billions, comes with a lot of responsibilities. That's why if it was just that easy, we would have it, but then what are we going to do with it if we never learn the value of what it is to get that? And there's a big story about, I don't remember his name. There was a guy, he was already a millionaire when he won the lottery for 100 and some millions or something like that. So he already had millions of money. Whitaker, his last name. Whitaker, yes, that was his last name. I don't remember his first name. John Whitaker? I don't know. Anyway, he was a millionaire already, and then he won the lottery, and then he found himself like with DUIs, drunk driving. I think one of his grandkids died of an overdose. Like he lost all his money. So he went through a lot of different, and his case is heavily studied because it's like, oh, he was already a millionaire. So he already knew the millions. How come he didn't know how to manage all this money that he got? And it's just because if it was that easy, then we will all get it, but we don't know how to, the responsibilities that come with things like that. Like, they're superstars, that from one day to the other, they're superstars. And they're famous, and they have all this fame and all that, but they never had that attention before, and now they have it all at once. They don't know what to do with it. And a lot of people, the batteries, the drums. And a lot of people doesn't know what to do with that. And a lot of people, like, if it's fame, a lot of people kill themselves because they don't know how to handle all that stuff. That's why the process has to be little by little. We have to walk ourselves into it. That's why the process are so long. And that's why the process takes long. And that's why we have to be patient with it and learn with it and learn from it. Because if we have it all at once, imagine having all that responsibility. Imagine one day, tonight, we post a video. You post a video. Let's think of it that way. You post a video on Facebook, and then tomorrow morning you open the door because you're going to drop off your kids, or you just walk outside in the morning, and then you have all the people taking pictures and then being like all on your business, and you're like, what's happening? Wait. All because your video and all that stuff. Imagine all that luggage to get into your car, to go. It's not just that easy. It's a mental process. And that's why it's important that we learn to be patient with any process that is. Because it comes, everything, as wonderful and beautiful it looks like, your goals, and they look like, it comes with a lot of different stuff in the back. Does that make sense? So, let's walk one step at a time. All right? Teach yourself to learn the process. Let's keep it real. Now, let's be creative. Once you get all that out of the way, the creative part is one of my best. I think that's the most exciting part, because then what's when you unleash everything you want to do. And that's when you put all your effort and all the stuff. Be creative with whatever process you're doing, because when you're creative, you let yourself free. And then if it's losing weight, let's talk about the process. Who wants to lose weight? Sure. Sure. Who says sure? Yeah, sure. So, let's talk about that process for a second. Imagine one day you ask me, okay, I want to lose 20 pounds. Imagine you lose 20 pounds from today to tomorrow. It's like, oh no. No, I don't like that. Thank you for the 20 pounds, but no, I don't like that. Because for me, I will have like saggy skin like nobody's business. I mean, a lot of things have a lot, like it's not just losing the weight. That's what coming with the be patient with the process. But whatever your goal is, teach yourself to be creative with it. Make it fun. So have fun at whatever you're doing. That's going to help you have patience with the process. Because when you're having fun doing something that you want to do, or even if you don't want to do it, like the tedious part, like administrative work or computer work for me, I hate it. The typing stuff, that's just not for me. I wasn't, but now I learned a better way. So instead of typing all this stuff, I just talk to my computer. I'm just talking and talking and talking, and the computer is just putting everything in there, and it's like, I'm done. Fantastic. And then I dance, and then I talk, and then it's like, I try to make it fun. The typing and the printing and all that stuff, that's not my thing. You can see Julie's page and my page is like, okay, let's get it out of the way. Okay, it's done. And Julie has the frame, she has all that good stuff. Hurry's like, okay, we got it done. So that is when I'm teach yourself how to make it fun. So your creativity flows and you don't feel pressured. So make it the best way for you.
Right.
Don't focus on being perfectionist. The perfect thing doesn't exist. There's nothing perfect. So imagine I start struggling, it's like, oh, it has to look like Julie's because Julie's this is always so neat, and she has no grammar issues. And I look at my path and it's like, what was I trying to say? What is it? It's in the computer. It's like, what does this mean? It's like, okay, so I don't know what I was trying to say. But that's why I explained it here, so it's like, so you guys catch it. But that's the thing. Being perfectionist is just gonna put you one step down. It's gonna take you back. It's gonna take you back because perfectionist is something that you will never achieve. Right. So be creative, have fun in the process, so you can exercise patience more freely. Right. It's like, okay, yeah, I'm having fun. I don't like this, but I'm having fun. Let's do it. So that's that. Let's set some boundaries and accountability. Mm-hmm. That's one of my favorite. Boundaries. You tell yourself, I have this project. I told myself that I'm going to do this. I already committed. I already went through all this process. Now, tell yourself, I'm going to work on this 4 hours every day, 3 hours every day, 2 hours every day. Or I'm going to do intermittent fasting. Or I'm not going to eat carbs. Or I'm going to be fasting coffee. Whatever the process is, tell yourself, now that you see the process, separate it in blocks. It doesn't have to be work all the time, talking about creativity. Set yourself in blocks and stick with it. If you told yourself, okay, today I'm going to dedicate 4 hours to this project. Those 4 hours doesn't have to be all 4 hours like back to back to back. It can be 1 hour, break, 1 hour, break, 1 hour, like that. So, but be conscious that whatever you tell yourself, you will do it and you will write it down. So, we talked about before about making a list for your work on the day. So every day when you wake up, first have a little prayer for yourself and be grateful. Thank you for everything I have because I'm grateful for that. Be grateful and then make a list. In that list, that's when you set your boundaries. Today I'm going to work on this because I have to take the kids to baseball, whatever, or I have to go to school, or I have to do all these things. So I'm going to dedicate to my process this time, or I'm going to not eat carbs. Write it down. Those are your boundaries. Stick with it, okay? Accountability partner. It's important that we find accountability, however it looks like. It's not always a partner. It's not always a mentor. It's not always has to be a person. Find ways. We are so dynamic and so different. We do this, because I do it myself. I tell my mom, okay, tomorrow I'm not gonna eat any carbs. And tomorrow, please tell me at 7 a.m., just tell me that I have to go for a walk so you can remind me. Fast forward 24 hours later, my mom says, oh, remember you told me that you were not gonna eat bread? And then remember that you were gonna go for a walk? It's like, why are you telling me that? I'm so annoyed. It's like, why she has to tell me this? And now I'm all pumped and angry at my mom because she is doing what I asked her to do for me. So we have to make sure that we find the right ways to hold ourselves accountable. What I do is I use a lot of the A. If I say my phone starts gonna acting up, but you know, the little guy Google. And yeah, all those people in the phones. So, and I tell them, I set a reminder for tomorrow at X, Y, and Z time. Okay, what's the reminder? I'm going to go for a walk. And when I tell myself that I'm going to do something, guess what? Just do it. You just have to do it. This is something I was working in a video earlier because I don't feel like it. Most of the time it's like, oh, I told myself that I was gonna go for a walk, but I don't feel like it. Or, oh, I told myself that I was gonna eat better today, but I don't feel like it. This is what we do. Yeah. We always say this stuff. I don't feel like it. But this is so cliche. Is you don't have to feel. If you continue thinking that you have to feel like it to do things, then you're gonna be stuck forever and ever. It's just traumatizing. So tell yourself, if I'm going to do something, I put already a reminder. So I'm going to get my butt up and go and do it because I already told myself that. We talk about boundaries. An accountability partner is sometimes we don't have someone to help us. And even if we have someone to help us, we're going to take it against them. It's like, oh, you see, you're not going to eat bread either. Nobody's going to eat bread in this house from now on. We do that. So make sure that find that thing that is going to help you stay accountable. I write the things that I want to achieve, and then I go through it in the morning. I create a list before, a day before, and I go to my schedule just to make sure that everything is lined up. And I give myself breaks. It's not all work. It's go. If you told yourself you're gonna work out, break it on points. Now, working out, this is another thing. We go so extreme into things because we're so pumped at the beginning because we are so, yes, this is what I want to do. And I'm going to lose 20 pounds. And tomorrow I'm going to work out for 3 hours. And then you go and do it. And you go full force into that. But then the following day, you're so sore. And you're so done with that you don't want to work out in the next 3 months. And then 3 months later, it's like, ooh, if I only stick with what I told myself that I was going to do, probably I would have lost those 5 pounds already. Whatever it is. Because we are so hard on us. We want to, you're the worst critical that you can have. This is true. And it's like, I told myself that I was going to lose 20 pounds. So from tomorrow and on, I'm just going to eat lettuce and I'm going to work out 3 hours per day. And water. And water. And we do it. I know. I've been there. And I know a lot of people have done that too. Because I hear that often. So have some grace for yourself. And just give yourself some time to, if it took you 10 years to get where you are, it's not going to take you a week to get out of it. That's part of being patient with the process. Does that make sense so far? Mm-hmm. So keep it real, okay? We set the boundaries and accountability. Let's share, but don't expect. What does this mean? When we come to share to someone, it's to share something, whatever it is. It might be for two main reasons. One, because we are pumped. It's like, yes, I want to share with you what I'm doing. Yes. And it's like, we are pumped. And I feel that sometimes it's like, yes, I feel so excited about this. And then you start going and the other person is like, what time are we having dinner? Uh-huh. And then in their eyes, it's like, wah, 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 wah. And you're like, yeah. And wah, 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 wah. Because they're not, like I said, they're not going through the process. Scenario number two, you're already self-doubting yourself.
Right.
You're already in that bad state of mind where it's like, I don't know if this is going to work out, so I need to find someone to pump me up. And then you come and tell that person, is like, yeah, you're right, it's not working out. You need to change. You need to do something else because it's not working. So then they help you dig up it. They're like, it's like giving them a shovel. It's like, let's dig together my hole. And then you both work together on digging that hole deeper and deeper. And then you cover yourself in the dirt. So that's what we do. That's exactly how the process looks like. You dig a hole, you find someone to dig a hole with you, and then to help you cover it so you're not able to come out of it. And then you give up. So what I mean by sharing is, come and talk to someone, whoever it is, with no expectation. The expectation is the one that kills us all the time. Expecting someone to, if I go and talk to my husband, expecting him to help me, when he has no clue what I'm doing or why I'm doing it or how I'm doing it, and then he comes, men always come with this problem-solving mentality. And then you can come and tell them, you know, I'm trying to lose weight. And then they will come and tell you, oh, but you need to do this and you need to do that. It's like, get off my business. What are you talking about? What are you doing?
Ask for all that.
I didn't ask you. I just, yes, it's like, keep it to yourself. And we get angry because of that. We don't need none of that. So, going back, when we have the need to share, it's because something is boiling inside of us and we need to get it out. Whatever it looks like, if it's anger, if it's frustration, if it's sadness, if it's depression, whatever it looks like, if you keep it to yourself, it's because you have had some very bad experiences and it's like, oh, I better keep it to myself because people are crazy. So we do that. But if you have that thing inside of you that says, we need to get this out, we need to do something about it, go and talk to someone and say, before you say anything, I'm about to vent out. Do you have time or not? And the other person has the choice. It's like, no, you know what, I don't want to hear you out, or I don't have time. Then go find someone that is good. Julie and I, we're here. And I know there's a ton of people that is like, you call them and right away pick up the phone just to be there on the phone. Like, I know that because it's like, oh, wow, were you sitting next to them? Like, that was really quick. So there's always someone there that is willing to hear you out. But the responsibility is yours to set the parameters and set those boundaries and set that expectation to say, I don't want you to, I don't need any advice. I think I know what I need to do, but I'm feeling low right now and I need some support to get me out of the funk. Are you willing to hear me out? And then the person might say yes or no. But that's their choice. But now you know what to go with it. You know the expectation and you set up the expectation. So there's no frustration on that side or on your side. Does that make sense?
Right.
And that adds up to the patient that we're going to be working on. So that's how we share, but we don't expect. And then let's trust the process. It's so hard. It's so hard to trust the process. I don't like it. I don't want it. It's just hard because you know what to do. I'm pretty sure a lot of the things that I've been talking about, we already know them. But we don't do it. Why we don't do it? Because we don't trust the process. This is what happens. When we start a new process, there's two things. We probably tried it already before and it worked, or we never tried it before. This is a new process for us. There's two different options. If you already tried the process before and this time things are not working out, it's because we want things to go faster, or because we want things to go exactly the same way that they went before, which is unrealistic because it cannot be. Even if it's losing weight, the process cannot be the same 10, 15 years later. Does that make sense?
Right.
If the process is something that is brand new for us, we don't know what to expect. We don't know what the process is. We don't know what it is to this new. You're starting something totally brand new. So you don't know where you're going, or you don't know how it's gonna look like. So for instance, we can have this impatience, or we can have this butterflies in the stomach where it's like, I don't know if this is going to work out. You already like, I don't know, this is kind of funky, this is new to you. So because it's so new to you, you don't know how to trust that process. It's so hard to trust something that you don't know. It's so hard to trust someone that you don't know. So for instance, when you, it's like, yeah, I know, I heard this conversation about me because I was on the phone, it's like, but they're talking about me, right? I was like, okay, that sounds okay. Because it was a couple of ladies, and then the lady, I was with someone, my client, and my client was talking to someone else. The other person came, but the other person knew me too. But I guess she didn't remember me or something. So the person, my client on the phone, she's like, I think she covered the phone, but I don't know. She was like, I'm talking to Lily. You know Lily from the group? And then it's like, yeah, she said, you know, the little heavy girl with the freckles and this and that, and that. She was describing me, and I was like, she's talking about me? And then the other girl's like, I don't know who you're talking about. And then, but I think she had me on like this because I can barely hear, but I heard it. It's like, yeah, the girl, she was wearing glasses. Remember glasses? And then she was wearing a dress, and she was describing me and all this. And then the other lady's like, I don't know who you're talking about. I cannot trust this woman. I don't know if I can trust this woman. It's like, but you know who she is. And then they have this full conversation. And then she comes back on the phone and is like, I'm sorry, I was just talking to my sister. What was that? And then I was like, do you want to walk me into what's happening? And she's like, oh, you heard the conversation? And like, I thought you wanted me to hear the conversation. I thought that's why you got me on the speaker. So, and then the other person comes in the conversation, and then and then it's like, oh, of course I know you. I just had to hear your accent. Now I know who I'm talking to. And I was like, okay. But that's the thing. We don't know if we don't ask questions. We don't know if we don't have an open mind. We don't know until it's like, oh, okay, let me walk myself into the process. Let me see what's out there. But that comes, it's like we've been in that position a lot of times. We just don't get to hear it on the other side of the phone. And it was just fascinating. Because then later on, I met with that lady, and she's like, yes, that accent, I can recognize that accent everywhere. Okay. So, all that to say, if you don't know the process, or if you do know the process, all you can do is commit to it and go and do it. That's all you can do. And when you have those moments when you say, I don't feel like it, there's only one thing that I can tell you that it works. Just go do it anyway. Because you know your process, because you know what works best for you. So for me to give you a magic formula to say, this is the things that you have to do, no, because what works for me probably doesn't work for you, or doesn't work for you, it just doesn't work like that. So find what works for you that will keep you in the process, and just go do it anyway. That's the best thing that I can do it, that I can suggest you. So when you find yourself in those moments when you're doubting yourself, and you don't know if you're making the best decision, and you don't know if the things that you're doing are the right things to do, just continue doing it anyway. As long as you know that it's a good thing. It's like, you're stealing money, don't do that anymore. But if you know the process, if you already commit to the process, and you know that that's the thing that you want to do, commit to it and say, I'm just gonna do it anyway. So when I tell myself, I don't feel like writing this blog, go do it anyway. And it's like, then everybody's like, what kind of solution is that? My problem is that I don't want to do it. But that's the best thing I can tell you. Go do it anyway. Because there's nothing that will help you. There's nothing I can say that will encourage you to do anything if you already don't know your process. Mm-hmm. Does that make sense? Mm-hmm. So I encourage you to do the work, pay attention on what you're doing, and if you don't like it, change it. If you tell yourself you were gonna do something, but you're already getting tired of it because you're not seeing the fruits, trust the process and take a break. You don't have to be stuck in there doing it. Just take a break. When you're doubting yourself, the best thing that you can do is go for a walk. Drink some water and come with a fresh mind. And start all over again. And just do it anyway. Does that make sense? All right. Questions? Because here I come. I come with my questions.
There's a test at the end. Your page is over.
Lily, it's not a question. It's about, like you were saying, you know, your mind will play tricks on you. Because I know, like, I'm at work and I know after work I'm going to, you know, get my dog and I'm going to go for a walk. And then I get in the car and as close I'm getting to home, and I'm like, oh, I don't feel like it. You know what I mean? And so I know I live that a lot. But one thing that I do, if I get in the house, change my shoes, finish shoes, I don't even have to sit down. The moment I sit down, I don't feel like it. So I get it. So that mindset that you have, and started saying, okay, this is what I'm going to do. And so I get home, I get her, and then we go for a walk. And then it feels good after you're done. But that mindset when you know, Mike talking to you like, okay, I don't feel like it, and you're really starting to sit in it. You know, you get home, you're like, oh. You start shaking like this. But I just start doing this to myself, program myself, okay, we're going to do it.
What happens when we tell ourselves, thank you for sharing, and I'm just going to piggyback on that. What happens when you tell yourself, I don't feel like it? What is that thing that triggers you to say that? Because we're looking at the whole picture. We're looking at all the things that we need to do to achieve that little thing. That's when it was like, oh, I don't feel like it. That sounds like a lot of work. I don't want to do this stuff. So I think about that. Okay, I'm gonna go for a walk, but I have to put my shoes on, I have to put socks on, and I have to do this, you know, and then you start doing a to-do list.
Right.
In less than 5 seconds, you have 100 things that you need to do before you go and go for a walk. And we look at this huge puzzle picture that you have to put together, and of course it's overwhelming. It's like, I don't feel like doing all this stuff right now. So the best thing that you can do is one step at a time, one habit at a time. The best way to change processes and to change your mentality and to renew your mind is one habit at a time. If you try to change everything at once, it will never work. It will never work because it's overwhelming. It's exhausting just to think about all the things that you have to do and achieve. So one thing at a time. So if you told yourself you're gonna go for a walk, you get home without thinking.
Right.
Put your shoes on. And then next thing is like, okay, I have my shoes on.
Put it on and work hard. Yeah, I was gonna say.
There you go. There you go. That's how you hold yourself accountable. That's exactly tricking yourself to make moves. That's perfect. Thank you very much. Things trick yourself, so there's no other way. This is it. There's no other way. Like if you go, this is another thing. If you're planning on losing weight, step number 1, never go to the supermarket hungry. Ever. That's a big mistake. And 2, don't buy things that you know that you're not supposed to be eating. Because it's like, oh, I buy it for the weekend. Or I buy it for my kids. And then midnight is like, okay. So it happens. So those are the ways that we find to hold ourselves accountable and to continue with the process. So that's a perfect, thank you for bringing that up. So if you don't feel like it, it's because you're thinking too much. So stop thinking too much and take it one habit at a time. If you're planning on losing weight, I'm going to go back to the weight because I know that this is something that is stressing a lot of people. If you're planning on losing weight, starvation is not the key because it's not maintainable. You have to do something that you can maintain. You have to create healthy habits that you can hold for long periods of time. So stay one at a time. If there's people, now, I want to talk also about fasting. Fasting is not deprivation because we think that I'm going to fast for 45 days with no food. And then at the end of the day, we're just like, and then we're just like, and crying, and we're all depressed, and because our hormones are all out of whack. because it's just not healthy. We have to stick with something balanced. We have to stay balanced, making the best decisions and staying accountable one thing at a time. Like I said, looking at the whole picture and having unrealistic expectations is setting ourselves for failure.
Right.
And that definitely is going to contribute to being impatient in a process. Impatient in a process. To be patient, recognize your process, commit to it, set boundaries, stay accountable, and set habits one at a time. And that works. That really, really works. So thank you very much. Caroline has
And saying all that, tomorrow morning I'm picking Julie up and we're gonna go up that on lake.
Right. You're my neighbor again. Yay!
So you guys are gonna be going for a walk.
Just go like I really been wanting to go up lake. That lake. Hey, Julie live up there. I'm picking her up. Let's go.
On that, like for example, that's great. That's a great thing to do. But then I'm thinking, at what time are you gonna go for a walk?
That's probably I have to talk to her because she's not a morning person.
And I'm just asking that question because if you tell yourself I'm gonna go for a walk,
Yeah.
but then you tell when I get out of work I'm gonna go for a walk. But then when you get out of work, when you get out of work and when you get home it's already dark or it's cold
Yeah.
or it's raining and it's like, no, I'm not doing that today. So be realistic.
Yeah.
I can go for a walk in my lunchtime if that's what I really want to do because I know when I get up I'm not going to do it. Keep it real. Let's keep it real.
That's
Like
right.
if you know yourself better than nobody else.
Yeah.
So make sure that if something that you want to do, you plan ahead and be aware of all the things that will interfere with that process to go on. If you tell yourself, I'm going to be kind with my husband.
Like you gonna start that diet tomorrow?
On Monday.
2 years, man.
2025.
Yeah.
So if you tell yourself I'm going to be nice, this happens a lot. When I'm hungry, I get angry. That's me, and I know a lot of people struggle with that. So then you starve yourself during the day. You don't eat because you want to look good and whatever it is. But then people show up. It's like kids after school, and then your husband after work, and all that stuff. And you're already hating everybody because you're hangry. It's like, why are you looking at me like that? I was just asking about this. And that's because my kids, it happened to me once, and my daughter, she was like,
Right.
About the cookie.
because we set ourselves for failure.
Yeah.
So if you want to be nice with your husband, don't starve yourself if you know you're gonna get hangry, because you're gonna take it out on him first thing you see him. So things like that. Make sure that you think ahead things like that, so you are patient with the process. You prepare, so you're fully aware of what the process is and the implications of the process, so you prepare ahead, because things are gonna come your way. Balls are gonna come your way. You have to know how to dodge it. So that's part of the learning experience. So whatever process you have, you just have to learn before and be prepared for it. So it comes with everything. If you want to lose weight, if you want to escalate on your job, that's another thing. There's people that say, I want to have a better job, but I hate my boss, and I hate his guys, or I hate my coworkers. I want to be the manager, but I hate all the people working here. I heard that too. It's like, I want to be the manager in my office, but I hate everybody in there. I don't want to see them. It's like, okay, well then you're in the wrong office.
Right.
You want to be a manager in a different office. So that's more realistic. So that's part of the process of being patient. That makes sense? Any other question?
I think I have one. So I'm really, Mary and I we hold each other accountable. We're in a group chat, right? So it started out wrong for me because I tried to do the 75 hard. I don't know if I told you I quit.
I forgot to write that in the group.
By the way,
I started off good, but I realized quickly. Okay, and I mean almost the same day. Mark working out twice a day, 45 minutes a day. You know, a lot of stuff I was like, oh my God, it's gonna be easy. I don't drink anyway, and you know, blah blah blah. But then I realized, okay, this is not the one for me. Okay, so but I'm really good at low carb meals. Like I'm the queen of ask me and I'll tell you how to make it. So I'm good at that. I was really, really good at that, and then I got pregnant with my daughter. And then they told me, I need to start eating more carbs, I need this, blah, blah, blah. So trying to get back into it has been difficult. I realize now that I'm not getting as much sleep as before because her sleep cycle is on my husband's schedule, which is a whole nother thing. I'm trying to do a whole bunch of things at one time that I didn't have to worry about before. So I love to find what I like to eat regularly. Like if I love pizza, how can I still have pizza but make it low carb, right? The problem I'm having is, and I did so good last week, that's all I want to say. I did so good, like it was biblical. I didn't eat any carbs. I didn't eat any carbs, none. And they even started selling Girl Scout cookies by the store in my house, which is like, literally, anyway. I'm going down a whole nother path of that. The problem, right, and they're even here. I tell you, the devil, and you're So listen, my problem is, I'm doing good, I'm writing it down, I'm taking these steps, and then my daughter's birthday comes. Mm-hmm. And that's the problem I'm having, is that I want to celebrate, right? But I'm tired of getting off and on. You know what I mean? Like I don't know how to find my process. I'm doing good, and then I'm met with this Cheesecake Factory Saturday,
Right?
and everything's butter. I mean, it's just delicious. You know what I mean? It's like I want to just stick with a salad. They have salad there. They offered me a salad. I told them no. I want the potatoes. I want everything, right? So I guess that's my question. Is like, you're on your process. You're doing great, and then it's like some special occasion. Is that okay that I fell off and I'm gonna get back on?
Yes.
Should I try to deny it?
Absolutely.
I think
So, what
I
it is?
have,
Okay,
yeah, I can say that it is good to, is it good to say reward yourself? Because you've been doing so good. You go into Cheesecake Factory, you don't have to get a whole thing of carrot cake, but just get you a slice of carrot cake. And then when you get it home, because those slices are big, you don't necessarily have to eat those big. And I think that's when we come about being that self, you know how you can motivate yourself in saying, no, I'm not going to eat that whole thing. I will have some and I'll leave some for later. So I think by rewarding yourself in doing it, you're not doing it every day. And I think that's one way you can do it. But if you are, I think your body wants something and you're not allowing it to have it, then that's why it becomes like when you see it, when you want it, then you're going to start eating all of it.
Right.
So I think you should, just treat yourself. You don't have to be the whole thing, just some of it, because sometimes you just need to have that taste. It's the taste buds that you need. Like going to Baskin Robbins, I love 2 type of ice cream there. Gold medal ribbon and what's the other one? Oh my God, I can think of it right now. But now I train myself, no, I'm not having both. I can have 1 scoop now, and maybe another week I'll have the other scoop.
I had them cut the carrot cake in half. I ate half, and I was like, I'm going to take the rest home and give it away. My husband ate it without my permission. And that hurt me because, and I called him like, how could you?
Well, that's another story.
How could you?
Okay, let me ask you a question. This question. Why did you make the decision, just in that moment, why did you make the decision to get the carrot cake?
Because I felt like I don't go there often. I should enjoy this at the time. That's what I thought. You know what? I could say no because they did have a low carb option. But I was like, I haven't been there in years. I probably won't go back for years. So should I just have a good time?
Did you have a good time?
I did.
Okay.
Very
Did you
good.
regret eating the carrot
Yeah,
cake?
right.
No, not at all.
But are you still mad with your husband?
But yeah, I was still angry because I have my heart set, you know. 'Cause you know how you forget that you got something, and you're like, oh my God, I got that other slice, the other half of my carrot cake, and it was gone. And it was just a wrapper in the trash.
You didn't put a note on it.
Do not touch.
I put it in the freezer.
But maybe that was God though, because I would have had it. But yeah, so.
Sometimes that works.
And the problem is, it's my mom's birthday this weekend. That's what I want to say. It's like it feels like it's like I can't do this.
So let me ask you a question. When you
Bottom line.
bottom line, what am I doing? Okay, what am I gonna do? So when we feel that's where sin comes from. Deprivation, it pushes us to do something, to search for something, to look at it like eating things that you want to eat is not bad, but you're telling yourself this is bad, so I shouldn't do it often, or I shouldn't do this because this is bad. But when you see it as a reward, when you work hard, at the end of the week you say, you know what, I deserve to take a break, or I deserve to sit down and watch a movie, or I deserve to have a slice of cake. That's when I talk about being realistic with the processes, understanding the implications that the process will come. I know that I'm going to have cravings, and I know that I'm going to be struggling in 2 months from now, because being without carbs is not natural. It's just not natural, because carbs is in nature, vegetables, and everywhere we think, everything we think, even meat has carbs. Like, how is that even possible? But that's just how it is. But when we understand that, to say, you know what? I'm doing this to take care of myself, because this is my plan. This is where I want to achieve. But I know in this process, I'm going to have birthday parties and holidays and office parties and people's reunions and cookies coming. And there's a lot of things that you have to learn to pick your battles.
Yeah.
You have to learn to say, this is not the sin that I want to die on, but I really think that I deserve it, because I don't want to live my life depriving myself, thinking that I'm just doing wrong. Because you're not doing wrong. You're just doing something that helps you to continue going and moving forward. When you learn to say, you know, it's a cookie or it's a cake, and we don't see it with like, oh, it's a cookie. Oh, and he's staring at me right now. When you stop yourself from thinking like
Look at that. I'm like, why did it
when you tell yourself, this is not bad, this is just what it is. We give that bad part. This is just not bad, this is just what it is. So this is what we do, and we do this a lot of the times. I do that myself. If I'm going to have my cheat day, I think it's like, oh, and then I can go to the Red Lobster, and then I can go to the donuts, and then I can go, and then I create like a tour. I'm gonna go here, and then I'm gonna stop by, and then I'm gonna stop by, and then I'm gonna grab everything. But then you eat the first thing, and it's like, oh my God, this is too much. So because we go in excess, we go obsessive over things, and obsession is a sin. So if you obsess over food, you're sinning, because you're just thinking way too much about it. Don't give it that power. Don't give food the power that they don't have. It doesn't have. You have the power. So you tell yourself, yeah, I ate a piece of cake, so what? I'm going to continue doing the work this week. So that's what it is. It's when you fall, you get up and you continue walking. But the problem is that you're seeing the cake as a falling. Don't see it as
next
falling.
week. That was okay, but then I'm like, now what is my mom's birthday? Am I not gonna have cake because I had it last?
So are you staying with no carbs? Are you continue with the process that you told yourself?
So what happened was,
So that's
I
where
told you they were selling Girl Scout cookies at the store, and then I was gonna get it for the kids, and I don't know who ate the box. Anyway, I'm back on it tonight. I'm back on it.
So just tell yourself, in every process, I would probably fall, and I would probably don't feel like it sometimes, and I probably won't want to continue doing this. Yes, that will happen. I'm keeping it real because I'm a human and because I go through processes too.
Right.
But I know also that I can continue going on. And then I pick up where I left off and continue moving forward. It doesn't have to be my story that, oh yeah, well that happened, I'm going to continue doing it because what else do I have? I have a ton of cookies in here. And then you tell yourself I'm a failure. I was going to do this and I didn't do it. No, you did that, you had a reward, and then you continue moving forward. Now, having a cake, don't do what I used to do. Having a tour, it's like, oh, it's my cheat day. Let's take all the restaurants and let's get it over with today. And then we come back on Monday. Doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
Don't give food the power that doesn't have. You have the power, and I know you can control it. So take it from where you left it and say, yes, I ate it. Yes, I'm proud of it. Yes, I deserve it. So what? Sue me. Next. Move forward. Yes.
I just have I had like a relaxation right now when the words keep it real and denial. So when you were going through your list of like let's commit, you mentioned like the weight, you trying to weight, and then you said relationships. So my New Year's resolution for every year is relationship, like work on my relationships. You know, like with family members. I don't know if that's the way you were.
Yeah. But
okay.
what exactly like to make it to strengthen your relationships? Or
When you mention like you're in denial, it's like that's always my goal, right? To work on my relationship, like with my father and my sister, mainly those two creatures. And
she said creatures. Okay, now I get it. I was gonna ask for a question.
We got it.
Prior that.
Yeah, we with you.
So then I was thinking to myself, if I was writing work your relationship, is it a denial if you just blocked it? Or
So-
am I taking a break and it's part of the process?
I was thinking earlier, ignorance is bliss. So we create, and this is something that we work on through time. With repetition and consistency, we create these habits to keep us comfortable. We create a comfortable bubble. That's what we do. Because it's like a protection. There's like, okay, if I feel comfortable, I can continue going with my life. I can survive if I'm comfortable. So we create these habits. Now, sometimes that bubble that we create, we are afraid. Fear stopped us from looking through what's outside because we want to continue staying comfortable and protected in this bubble. So I better don't go to the doctor because I don't want to find out what's wrong with me. I know something is hurting, but I don't want to go to the doctor because the fear is preventing me from seeing that thing that I don't want to see, because then I might have to make changes, or I might have to, I don't know, make some adjustments, or I might have to talk to this, or I might have to, there's a lot of things that might not happen, but we don't have certainty about it, and we have fear for it. So we prefer to cover this in this bubble of comfortable. Now, ignorance is like a blanket that we put on top of our bubble so we don't see through the bubble, so we don't see what's outside. So we just cover comfortable with this blanket of ignorance. I'm calling it ignorance because there's no other word, because we don't want to know. So I prefer to cover myself in it because I'm afraid to see through it and find out more, because I don't know what's out there. So answering your question is, do you know that there's a problem in the relationship?
I feel like going back to it, I feel like I tried like 1 or 2 times, and then it's like run out of patience, and I'm like blocked.
Swipe left. The end. Okay, so you have a dysfunctional relationship with your father and your sister,
Yes.
and do they talk to you?
I mean, they try.
They try, and you don't want that?
I mean, like, just like the way that, you know what I mean? Like, just the way that they carry certain situations
They're toxic.
Like, yeah, like I don't
That's
feel
all what
like
it is.
I don't feel like they put the much like the same effort as I'm putting,
Mhm.
and then it's like it wears me down, you know, like. And I try to explain like, look, I'm trying to establish a relationship here, and it's like, and they're like gaslighting me, like, you always trying to fight, and I'm like, I'm trying to explain to you how you make me feel, and then, and it always ends up like that, like, so I was like, you know what, dude, like.
Block.
That's right.
So, this is the second time that I blocked my dad.
Do you want that relationship?
I feel like, yes and no. I feel like I crave it so much,
Okay.
and I feel like I need it, like, to a certain extent, because it's like I don't have it, but then I'm still like hurting. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And then I have it, and I'm still hurting.
Right. So you do want you to keep it clear for the record, for everybody's record. Do you want their relationship?
Yes.
Okay. You have to love them where they are. We are not here to change anybody. You cannot change people if they're not willing, if they don't see the problem and they don't know. Like right now, we are here. Oh, I see the problem and I want to change, or we know what's struggling, but they're not doing the work, and they might not see the problem. They're not aware. They're in that comfortable bubble that I was talking about. A lot of people is in that comfortable bubble, and they're not willing to look through it. They won't be willing to look through it. Probably never will ever happen. But you know. So now you have a choice. If you do want their relationship, you can say, I want to be close to them. Then you have to learn to love them where they are, with no judgment,
So it's
with
like
no
I accept
expectation.
whatever they do, even